Welcome back to our series on Sufism. In this highly anticipated third installment, we delve even deeper into the transcendent realms of Sufi spirituality. Building upon the foundations laid in our previous videos, we now embark on a breathtaking journey into the heart of divine illumination and ecstatic union. Through whirling dances, ecstatic chants, and intense devotion, the seeker seeks to dissolve the boundaries of the self and merge with the divine presence. Drawing from the timeless wisdom of the Sufi masters, we delve into the mysteries of divine illumination, where seekers are bathed in the radiant light of spiritual enlightenment. We uncover the ecstatic union, where love, longing, and spiritual intoxication merge into a profound and transformative experience. Join us as we embark on this mesmerizing journey through illumination and ecstasy.
'Tis the sun's self that lets the sun be seen. According to a mystical interpretation of the famous passage in the Quran, where the light of Allah is compared to a candle burning in a lantern of transparent glass, which is placed in a niche in the wall. The niche is the true believer's heart. Therefore his speech is light, and his works are light, and he moves in light. He who discourses of eternity, said Bayezid, must have within him the lamp of eternity. The light which gleams in the heart of the illuminated mystic endows him with a supernatural power of discernment, firasat. When the heart is purged of sin and evil thoughts, the light of certainty strikes upon it and makes it a shining mirror, so that the devil cannot approach it without being observed. From illumination of gradually increasing splendor, the mystic rises to contemplation of the divine attributes, and ultimately, when his consciousness is wholly melted away, he becomes transubstantiated, tajawara, in the radiance of the divine essence. Here is a passage from the oldest Persian treatise on Sufism, the Kashf al-Mahjub of Hujwiri.
It is related that Sari al-Sakati said, "O God, whatever punishment thou mayest inflict upon me, do not punish me with the humiliation of being veiled from thee, because, if I am not veiled from thee, my torment and affliction will be lightened by the recollection and contemplation of thee. But if I am veiled from thee, even thy bounty will be deadly to me. There is no punishment in hell more painful and hard to bear than that of being veiled. If God were revealed in hell to the people of hell, sinful believers would never think of paradise, since the sight of God would so fill them with joy that they would not feel bodily pain. And in paradise, there is no pleasure more perfect than unveiledness. If the people there enjoyed all the pleasures of that place and other pleasures 100-fold, but were veiled from God, their hearts would be utterly broken. Therefore, it is the way of God to let the hearts of those who love him have vision of him always, in order that the delight thereof may enable them to endure every tribulation. And they say in their visions, we deem all torments more desirable than to be veiled from thee. When thy beauty is revealed to our hearts, we take no thought of affliction. In the market, in the cloister only God I saw. In the valley and on the mountain, only God I saw. Him I have seen beside me oft in tribulation, in favor and in fortune, only God I saw. In prayer and fasting, in praise and contemplation, in the religion of the prophet, only God I saw. Neither soul nor body, accident nor substance, qualities nor causes, only God I saw. I opened mine eyes, and by the light of his face around me in all the eye discovered. Only God I saw. Like a candle I was melting in his fire, amidst the flames outflashing. Only God I saw. Myself with mine own eyes I saw most clearly, but when I looked with God's eyes, only God I saw. I passed away into nothingness, I vanished, and lo, I was the all-living. Only God I saw.
The whole of Sufism rests on the belief that when the individual self is lost, the universal self is found, or in religious language, that ecstasy affords the only means by which the soul can directly communicate and become united with God. Asceticism, purification, love, gnosis, saintship, all the leading ideas of Sufism are developed from this cardinal principle. As we have mentioned in our previous videos in this series, the term fana includes different stages, aspects, and meanings. These may be summarized as follows. 1. A moral transformation of the soul through the extinction of all its passions and desires. 2. A mental abstraction, or passing away of the mind from all objects of perception, thoughts, actions, and feelings through its concentration upon the thought of God. Here the thought of God signifies contemplation of the divine attributes. 3. The cessation of all conscious thought. The highest stage of fana is reached when even the consciousness of having attained fana disappears. This is what the Sufis call the passing away of passing away, fana al-fana. The mystic is now wrapped in contemplation of the divine essence. The final stage of fana, the complete passing away from self, forms the prelude to baka, continuance or abiding in God, and will be treated with greater fullness in the coming video. The first stage closely resembles the Buddhistic nirvana. It is a passing away of evil qualities and states of mind, which involves the simultaneous continuance of good qualities and states of mind. This is necessarily an ecstatic process, inasmuch as all the attributes of self are evil in relation to God. No one can make himself perfectly moral, that is, perfectly selfless. This must be done for him through a flash of the divine beauty in his heart. While the first stage refers to the moral self, the second refers to the percipient and intellectual self. Using the classification generally adopted by Christian mystics, we may regard the former as the consummation of the purgative life and the latter as the goal of the illuminative life. The third and last stage constitutes the highest level of the contemplative life.
In theory, the ecstatic trance is involuntary, although certain conditions are recognized as being specially favorable to its occurrence. It comes to a man through vision of the majesty of God and through revelation of the divine omnipotence to his heart. Such, for instance, was the case of Abu Hamza, who, while walking in the streets of Baghdad and meditating on the nearness of God, suddenly fell into an ecstasy and went on his way, neither seeing nor hearing, until he recovered his senses and found himself in the desert. Trances of this kind sometimes lasted many weeks. It is recorded of Sahl ibn Abdallah that he used to remain in ecstasy 25 days at a time, eating no food. Yet he would answer questions put to him by the doctors of theology, and even in winter his shirt would be damp with sweat. But the Sufis soon discovered that ecstasy might be induced artificially, not only by concentration of thought, recollection, dhikr, and other innocent methods of auto-hypnosis, but also by music, singing, and dancing. These are included in the term sama, which properly means nothing more than audition.
That Muslims are extraordinarily susceptible to the sweet influences of sound will not be doubted by anyone who remembers how, in the Arabian Nights, heroes and heroines alike swoon upon the slightest provocation afforded by a singing girl touching her lute and trilling a few lines of passionate verse. The fiction is true to life. When Sufi writers discuss the analogous phenomena of ecstasy, they commonly do so in a chapter entitled Concerning the Sama. Under this heading, Hujwiri, in the final chapter of his Kashf al-Mahjub, gives us an excellent summary of his own and other Mohammedan theories, together with numerous anecdotes of persons who were thrown into ecstasy on hearing a verse of the Quran or a heavenly voice, hatif, or poetry or music. Many are said to have died from the emotion thus aroused. I may add by way of explanation that, according to a well-known mystical belief, God has inspired every created thing to praise him in its own language, so that all the sounds in the universe form, as it were, one vast choral hymn by which he glorifies himself. Consequently, those whose hearts he has opened and endowed with spiritual perception hear his voice everywhere, and ecstasy overcomes them as they listen to the rhythmic chant of the muezzin, or the street cry of the saka shouldering his waterskin, or perchance to the noise of wind or the bleating of a sheep or the piping of a bird.
Pythagoras and Plato are responsible for another theory, to which the Sufi poets frequently allude, that music awakens in the soul a memory of celestial harmonies heard in a state of pre-existence, before the soul was separated from God. Thus, Jalaluddin Rumi said, "The song of the spheres and their revolutions is what men sing with lute and voice. As we all are members of Adam, we have heard these melodies in paradise. Though earth and water have cast their veil upon us, we retain faint reminiscences of these heavenly songs. But while we are thus shrouded by gross earthly veils, how can the tones of the dancing spheres reach us?"
The formal practice of summer quickly spread amongst the Sufis and produced an acute cleavage of opinion, some holding it to be lawful and praiseworthy, whilst others condemned it as an abominable innovation and incitement to vice. Hujwiri adopts the middle view expressed in a saying of Dhul Nun the Egyptian: "Music is a divine influence which stirs the heart to seek God. Those who listen to it spiritually attain unto God, and those who listen to it sensually fall into unbelief." He declares in effect that audition is neither good nor bad and must be judged by its results. When an anchorite goes into a tavern, the tavern becomes his cell, but when a wine bibber goes into a cell, that cell becomes his tavern. One whose heart is absorbed in the thought of God cannot be corrupted by hearing musical instruments. So with dancing. When the heart throbs and rapture grows intense, and the agitation of ecstasy is manifested, and conventional forms are gone, this is not dancing nor bodily indulgence, but a dissolution of the soul. Rumi says, "Men incur the reproach of wine and drugs that they may escape for a while from self-consciousness, since all know this life to be a snare, volitional memory and thought to be a hell." In conclusion, let us acknowledge that the transports of spiritual intoxication are not always sublime, and that human nature has a trick of avenging itself on those who would cast it off.
And there you have it, fellow seekers, the exhilarating conclusion of our exploration into illumination and ecstasy in Sufism. But hold on tight, because our journey into esoteric wisdom is far from over. In our upcoming 4th installment, get ready to dive deeper into the enigmatic realms of the Gnosis. Drawing inspiration from Reynold Nicholson's profound insights, we'll embark on an odyssey through hidden knowledge and profound revelation. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of the universe, exploring the intricate pathways of ancient texts, cryptic symbols, and esoteric practices that reveal the secrets beyond ordinary perception. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the wisdom and continue our journey together. Thank you for joining us, fellow truth seekers. Until next time, cheers and namaste.